Welcome to Lawmen, a podcast about local legends and obscure curiosities from days of yore. I'm James Shakeshaft.
And I'm Alistair Beckett-King.
We've got the hilarious comedian Ed Knight.
Huge fan of Ed Knight's online comedy sketches.
Yes, me too. And he's joined us to tell us all about his, I believe the term is manor, of Streatham in London. And it's mostly about a little artist you might have heard of called Vincent Van Gogh.
To Americans, that's Vinnie Van Gogh. And before we start, James, can we have a quick record scratch? We may need just a tiny caveat. We also talk about a South London menace who went by the name of the Croydon Cat Killer. If that sounds like something you don't want to hear about, you might want to skip to about the halfway point in this one.
Yeah. Maybe just skip it entirely. But do check out Ed's other stuff, which is not cat killer related.
To be clear, he's not the killer.
Oh gosh, no, neither am I.
And I wasn't going to deny it, but you've sort of forced my hand. Neither am I.
Yeah, okay.
A fascinating set of tales. Let's get that music rolling and get on the Ed Knight trolley.
Alistair.
Yes, James Shakeshaft.
It's the we've got a guest whisper that I'm doing today.
I recognised it almost immediately.
Yeah, it's the one. It's almost the same as the minisode one, but if you look at the description of the podcast, it says that we've got a guest deputy law person. Can I stop doing it now?
Yeah, stop doing it, please. It's annoying me as much as it's annoying you.
And annoying my larynx. But yes, we've got a guest deputy law person. Please welcome to the show. It's Ed Knight.
Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Stand-up comedian Ed Knight, no less. Thank you very much for coming on. It's wonderful to have you here, Ed.
I'm so honoured to finally be a deputy in the lawverse.
You have been officially deputised. You're in. We're getting a team together and you're in it if this was the post-credit sequence of a different episode.
Thank you. Fantastic.
I'm a big fan, Ed, not just of your stand-up, but of the sketches you do with Paddy Young. My favourite sketch, I can't do it here. I can't describe it really. My favourite one is the one where Paddy has drunk your milk and you are psyching him out about it, which sounds really, it's like a Pinter play, but condensed into like a minute. It's brilliant. It's very, very funny. And
that's a personal favourite.
Your acting is really good in it as well.
Thanks. Yeah, we love doing that one.
My compliments are sounding sarcastic as I'm saying them, but I mean them completely sincerely.
Yeah, yeah, we had a real fun making it because we were just sitting around going like, what if we do something about nicking milk out of the fridge or whatever, and then you like egg each other on, and you get in the zone with writing, and it's just really fun to make stuff like that. So I'm glad you like that one.
It came out slightly better than The Godfather, I would say, in terms of its operatic grandeur. So look up Ed and Paddy milk. I don't know. Just Google milk. And eventually stolen milk.
Yeah, I'd say it's better than The Godfather. It certainly has an interesting Volta.
Oof. I'm already out of my depth. I don't know what that means. I presume it's something to do with electricity.
Yeah. All my enemies get electric shocked while I'm baptizing my newborn child in milk.
Well, I hope that's a reference to something. Otherwise, I'm terrified.
No, that's something I made up.
You've come to us today bearing a gift of tales. Alistair, we didn't discuss this beforehand because, Ed, whereabouts are your tales based?
They're based in South London, SW16, where I grew up in Streatham.
Right, because here we have a problem, Alistair, because both you and I have lived in South London.
Mm-hmm.
So who gets dibs?
Well, I'm a northerner.
You say you
and
are.
You're a southerner, so it feels like it should be, I am a northerner. Oh, some lovely pies. Oh, imagine expressing an emotion. No thanks.
What do you call a roll?
I call it a stotty cake.
Okay.
You've never even heard of that, James. You don't even know what that is. A stotty cake. That's what they're called where I'm from.
Like the babies being baptised bit, you're just making it up to confuse me.
What if the people have very, very strong opinions on different areas. What if you each tell me where in South London you've lived, and then I get to pick who has dibs based on which area I like the most?
Hey, I'm going to go in because I don't want it to be me, so I'm going to go straight in with Croydon.
Oh, shout out. Yeah.
I've got family in Croydon, so you'll be allowed to mess with Croydon as much as I'm allowed to. But you've got familial links to Croydon, right?
Yeah, I still have family. My parents still live in to dox them and myself. My parents live in Norbury, so I'm all right I'm not going to slag off Croydon. I'm going to talk about interesting things from there.
Oh,
well, I've got one particular Croydon-based story and one particular Streatham-based story that I'd like to talk about.
What should we go with first? Should we go with the...
Well, we've all lived in Croydon. Let's open with Croydon.
Let's open with Croydon.
Nobody's ever said that before. This might be the first podcast to say something nice about Croydon.
Actually, not a podcast, but a friend's wife from Czech was over, and she was driving. We were driving down to my house in Thornton Heath, and she could see Croydon on the horizon. And she said, "Wow, it looks like San Francisco." And she'd been to San Francisco.
It's exactly the same.
A very foggy day, was it? Is that the thing?
It looks like a famous prison.
It looks like Alcatraz, yeah.
They do have trams. Both have trams.
Good shout. Good point. We couldn't see the trams.
You can't get to Wimbledon from San Francisco.
You can't. No, I do love Croydon. There's a sort of for some reason, like you can see the same few buildings around East Croydon from my bedroom window, my seat at Sellers Park, and from the top of Pollard's Hill, which is my favourite place to go and get a breath of fresh air. So I just love, and then used to love going to Croydon or like into Croydon town when I was a kid, with my granddad and stuff. So I love Croydon. I think it's one of the best places in the world, Croydon and Streatham.
That's beautiful.
I've got Croydon and Streatham pumping through my veins.
That's so nice. I do think you should go to some more places just for comparison. But it's
I've
lovely.
basically been to San Francisco.
Yeah, don't need to bother with it now.
Exactly. I know. The Golden Gate Bridge, City Lights.
Have they got a CEX? They got one of those.
Definitely don't have 8 or 9.
So what? Yeah, what's your Croydon tale?
Well, it's on my mind. I wasn't planning to talk about this, but it's on my mind. I was out with some friends last night, and they brought it up and were talking to me about it. Me and my girlfriend were talking to them about it. The Croydon Cat Killer.
Oh, we may need a content warning there, but it would be for the idea of cat killing, so it might be a bit late.
Yes, yeah,
but yeah, I remember it well. Yeah. What did he do? Well, unfortunately, he's not going to surprise you.
It was fascinating to me, not only because at the time it all sort of popped off. I was 20, living with my parents in Croydon. Well, it's weird. I can say what I like, because the postcode we live in is SW16, but our constituency is Croydon North. So
I lived in the constituency of Croydon North.
I'm a man with a foot in two worlds. My parents have a cat. We have a cat. And at the time, it was very worrying. It was this huge. I'm fascinated with it because basically, do you want me to explain the story?
Yes, please.
Family in Addington, very sad story. Around like 2015, 2016, their cat is killed and left on their doorstep, and then happens a couple more times around the area where it's like cats are killed and left for their owners to find, and it's like a segment on like local London news. Stuff like that. And then eventually the police start a local couple starts a charity to investigate. And then the police get involved and start a task force. And vets get involved saying they've done postmortems and this couldn't have been done by a fox or whatever. This is done by a human. But then your local Guardian comment sections and the Facebook groups start to go crazy and out of control. And armchair sleuths and this charity start to believe that every dead cat across the UK is done by the same person.
Yes.
Talking like Northampton one night, Edinburgh the next.
Yeah, I heard he's struck as far afield as Norwich. And it's like, if it is a guy, it's just a different guy.
Yeah, and then it's interesting to me because the police task force eventually closes and says it was all foxes and hit and runs.
I mean, I don't want to be a stone cold skeptic / redheaded hottie, like in the X-Files, but it was foxes. It was foxes all along. It was foxes.
And then that puts more fuel on the fire of this is a conspiracy, it's a cover-up. You know, more vets come out of the woodwork and say, I saw the wounds, they were done with a blade. And everyone's going, well, a fox wouldn't leave it on the owner's doorstep and all this stuff. And me and my friend got really into it, and we were trying to pitch something about this. Is all boring, but it was really interesting to me because it's in my area, and news about it and people talking about it seemed inescapable for about a year. But it's also really interesting because it came at the same time. It was at the exact same time as like the peak of the true crime boom. All the true crime podcasts and the new books, and I remember it was the same time as the famous book about the Golden State Killer. And everyone was freaking out about true crime, and then suddenly everyone in Croydon was convinced that like an uncatchable, prolific stalker was stalking the streets, killing cats as far afield as Orkney, and it.
Yes, and the Sainsbury's in Crystal Palace.
And San Francisco, yeah.
No, that was Croydon. That was someone mistaken. It was Croydon.
Yeah, it turned out to be Croydon. We just thought it was San Francisco because of the ambience. I think you're right. It follows exactly the pattern of Spring-Heeled Jack and the London Monster and other stories we've covered where it's not that nothing happened. Some people, some cats died very sadly, and maybe some people did some terrible things.
Yeah.
But the thing that people believe is happening, this one evil guy who's doing so much, it turns into a kind of a tulpa, a kind of created figure.
Maybe there was someone that was did one or maybe two cats at the very, very start and left them on their neighbors' doorsteps because people kill cats all the time. People shoot animals with BB guns and do horrible things to pets all the time. It's very cruel. It's very sad. But yeah, I don't think that there was the Spring-Heeled Jack is such a great, this tulpa figure is such a great way of describing it, because it's it's just loads of people geeing each other up that there's the most prolific serial killer of all time is operating on our streets and disrupting our unique community balance and putting a knife through the perfect equilibrium of suburbia. Something to be terrified about and to
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I did notice there was kind of a flip in the whole cat thing though, because with that whole Croydon Cat Killer thing around 2015, 2016, and people there were really kind of on the sides of the cats. But I don't know if you remember when COVID came a knock in, one of the fingers pointed at how it was being spread was cats.
Really? We were really searching for people to blame at that time, weren't we?
Yeah.
It was cats, was it? Yeah.
It was being transferred by cats.
Yeah, but then some people also thought it was 5G towers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just found it really fascinating at the time because I would I had a couple of friends that I talked to about it, and we'd I remember going on the local newspaper, your local Guardian comment sections and Facebook groups and reading the comments. People were everyone's throwing naming other people on their road, and I think
really?
I could be remembering wrong. I could be remembering wrong here. That could be hyperbole, but people are have the theories about it, and I can't remember who it was with, but I was around another comics house at the height of the Croydon Cat Killer stuff in South London, and another comic came home and which started grilling them about where they'd been, started accusing everyone of being the Croydon Cat Killer. That was a lot of fun for a while.
Why do you smell of whiskers? What's going on here?
Yeah, little mouse toys dangling out of the backpack. I think it's just really interesting to see kind of in real time how this stuff kind of gets
a mass hysteria.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Because I think the very sad sort of coda perhaps to it all is that the amount of reported cat deaths in that area was at bang average for the country. So it's
really,
it's very sad that many cats are having mysterious deaths, either being run over, killed by foxes, or there are, unfortunately, some people did do horrible things. And that was normal. Yeah.
But also it's there are a lot of other problems that I know I live near there where it was all happening around there, what it's alleged to have been happening. People go crazy in cars around there. People are going bonkers down. The amount of times I've nearly been hit by a car because people are just going crazy. Foxes are going crazy. There's loads of foxes. They're getting braver than ever. Can't move. Every single day I see 3 or 4 foxes. Like it's far more likely to me that's occurred.
Some of them have got belts now and mobile phones. Yeah.
Motives, means, and opportunity. Some of them have. Me and my friend, who was also interested in it and fascinated by it, sort of, we remembered it and got a renewed interest in it because then it had also died down. But then there was a new mass hysteria every week. It was interesting. That's what kind of reminded me of the 5G tower stuff. People hoarding toilet paper, conspiracy theories flying around everywhere. Like. That's what kind of reminded me of it and made it kind of stick in my mind because we went back to thinking about it after 5 years or whatever when no one else really cares, and now it's sort of like an interesting tidbit for people who've lived in Croydon. Like, all remember that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, we all remember.
There are some people who are sort of still on it and still think that there's 10 years later they think there's still a secret killer out there and they're trying to find out who it is, and it's kind of like it's an affliction.
The difficult thing about investigating the Croydon Cat Killer is they really like that red string. So as you're sticking it in the board, the cats are just taking it down and playing with it.
Have you ever tried to bring a cat in for questioning? They're difficult witnesses.
Do you want to be in for questioning or do you want to be out? If you want to be in, make a decision.
Yeah, they're at the door of the interview room trying to come in. You open the door and they don't want to come in anymore.
You were just scratching. So what?
Yeah, they're at the door of the witness stand, and then they're just come on.
Yeah, you go to arrest a cat, they see the carrier, and they just bolt to a different room. You'll never get there. There are countless other like examples of armchair sleuths and internet sleuths getting involved in actual cases over the past few years that always just have sort of tragic results. It's kind of like there are people out there trying to convince that there's a cat-specific Jack the Ripper out there, that there are just somehow, if they dedicate enough time to it, the right puzzle pieces will present themselves and they'll crack a case that might not exist, and that's very interesting to me.
That isn't all you've come here to tell us about, is it, Ed? You've got something more Streatham-y? It's Streatham, not Streatham?
Streatham, yeah.
I say Streatham. It's fine. You can say what you want.
I like the emphasis on the ham. I'm a very easily pleased guy, Like I like stuff.
The word ham pleases you.
Yeah. Like old school, like like place name suffixes. Something Dale, something ham. Every time I see one in a word, I say ham to myself, and I'm like, brilliant. I know this used to be a ham.
You must be thrilled looking at cheeses.
I'm loving it. Yeah. Imagining some ham in there, brilliant. This is something that really happened and something that just really interests me. But I found out a few years ago. My favourite place in the world is probably Streatham Common. I love Streatham Common. I grew up opposite Streatham Common, also down in Streatham Vale. Probably one of my favourite places on earth, and one of the places I'm most familiar with. It really chills me out. Whenever I'm in a bit of a mood or I need to do something, I like to go there, have a walk around. And then I found out a couple of years ago that when Vincent Van Gogh lived in, I never know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm going to stick with my guns here. When
Streatham, it's Streatham.
Oh yeah, you checked that, James. That's good.
Was living in sort of Brixton, Kennington area. He walked down to Streatham Common. I think because he was grieving something. I think his landlady's daughter had died, I think, and he went for a walk to clear his head, and he walked up Streatham Common, and he drew it. And I was amazed to find, I was like so excited to like one of the most sort of lauded, one of the most interesting and most well-known, one of the greatest artists of all time has drawn a place that you're really familiar with and you love. And I found out about it, started thinking, wow, like how would his eye have rendered, the big Sainsbury's, the retro game store, all of that.
Is that still there?
It's not still there, sadly. It very short-lived.
It was just there during Van Gogh's lifetime, and it's not there now, unfortunately.
Yeah. They weren't retro when Vincent was around, were they? They were cutting edge.
They just called it games in those days.
Yeah.
So this is Van Gogh, or Van Gogh to Americans, maybe Van Gogh to people from wherever Van Gogh's from.
Yeah, the very same. He went for a walk up Streatham Common, and we know he did because he mentions it that in a letter to his brother his brother Theo, and that's how I found out about it. There's a digitized archive of all his letters online, and he talks about Streatham Common, he talks about why he's there, he talks about how lovely it is, and he says that he's included in the letter a sketch that he's made, but that's obviously lost, sadly. And he also includes, what I think is very interesting, is he includes some poetry by a guy whose name is, I think, Coro, who was not well known at all in his lifetime, but was only well known posthumously, much like Big Vincent. And as far as I'm aware, these digitized letters are the only repository of Coro's poetry in English online. They're certainly the only evidence of his poetry I can find in English when I Google, using my suboptimal Googling skills. And it's just really interesting to me that, like, this, really important guy whose life and work you're so familiar with is like knocking about in your area. And because of finding out that story, I found out about this other guy this other guy's poetry that he loved. And it's also really the whole story is very conflicting, because I'm not sure how I feel about the fact that all of his private like a legendarily depressed man's private correspondence to the only person on earth who loved him or thought he wasn't a completely dog shit at art is now freely available in multiple languages to be picked apart by anyone who wants to. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. There's also something poetic about it. Henry Tate, the founder of the Tate Galleries, lived on Streatham Common, so Van Gogh was probably walking past like the house of the biggest gatekeeper in the art world and not really knowing it. Like there's lots of stuff to do with the story that doesn't really link or make sense, but that I like, and so that's why I like it as a piece of local lore.
I feel quite connected to Van Gogh because whenever I do a video on the internet with my hair tied back, people say, "Oh, from Doctor Who, you look like Van Gogh when he was in Doctor Who. You look like the actor Tony Curran," which, to be fair, I think he's quite better looking than me, but also a bit older, so it kind of balances out.
Well, I haven't seen you without your headphones on. For all I know, you've only got one ear since I last saw you.
That's true. Yeah. And I just stumbled upon this. James, do you have that picture I sent you?
I do. I'm going to share this, but after Ed's ever so moving tale, this feels... It's really horrible. So Alex Lynch, the comedy writer and podcaster, I discovered this through a post he made. It's an advert from the Van Gogh Expo for an Easter event. And what they've done, maybe Ed, you could help me describe this to the listener. Beautiful piece of AI-generated artwork from the Van Gogh Expo. I mean, how do you know that's AI, Alistair?
Describe it for the listener so they understand why I laughed at that.
This is a white bunny rabbit, a fluffy white magician-style bunny rabbit wearing tweeds and a beret, holding a palette of paints and a paintbrush and standing next to a copy of Starry Night, which presumably they've painted. And so we can presume this rabbit is in an asylum.
The rabbit, therefore, is Van Gogh.
This rabbit is in a mental asylum.
And there are so many things that upset me about this. The easel the legs are in the wrong place, it would fall down. But the rabbit is holding the paintbrush backwards. It's holding it upside down. And the paintbrush sort of blends into the flowers in the background. I guess the thing about Van Gogh, as you said, he was quite a troubled guy. And I feel like they've created a thing that if he saw it,
would break his heart.
I think it would upset him a lot.
It would really upset him. Yeah.
Quite happy not to get famous, actually.
Wow.
If that's what it means.
Yeah.
Of all the animals as well, it's one of the ones, the very famous ears. That seems insult to injury, I think.
At least cut one of the rabbit's ears off.
You're right. It's tasteless, in fact.
Tasteless that they haven't.
It's in very poor taste that they haven't mauled that rabbit.
Absolutely. It's kind of the world's changing, isn't it? The world's changing, isn't it, fellas?
Yeah. Oh, the world's changing.
I might need to go for a walk up Streatham Common to process this. Well, that's the other thing I liked about the story as well. Obviously, like the first thought was like, before I found out that it's not extant, I was like, wow, that's a sketch I've got to see. I'd love to have seen how he painted it, but also it's very it's extremely touching to find out that he went for a walk up there when he was grieving, because that's something I've done, many, many times. He's one of these figures that everyone basically knows the same 2 or 3 facts about his life. And so it's really interesting to get such a like it's probably the first time I ever heard anything about him or knew anything about him since that episode of Doctor Who or primary school. So it was really sweet, and it made me be more interested in his work, and since find out loads more stuff about him. Find out more than cut ear off, sunflowers,
that song as well.
Yeah, and Doctor Who.
Which song?
Just Starry Starry Night.
Oh, right.
Imagine if I'd have said like the Venga Boys. Actually, the Venga bus was one of the buses that he caught. Well, I do have a bit of lore from Streatham Common from the book London Law.
This is what I'm really excited about. I'm obviously very keen to share my favourite stories about Streatham Common with you guys, but I'm even more excited to find out things that I don't yet know about my beloved Streatham.
So, well, I've looked up the dates, and am I right in thinking this happened around 1875 that Van Gogh was living in the area?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. Do you know what? So I don't know if Henry Tate would have even lived around there yet, but I might have been making that up. But it's nice to think about. Well, maybe it's not. I don't know.
Well, first of all, actually, I've got something from The Streets of London by Thomas Burke, which is a book I found the other day, it's. When you find them in a secondhand shop and it's like got a date on it that it was given to someone in 1946.
Wow, lovely.
Harking back to the mass hysteria, as we were talking about earlier, there's an illustration from 1874 of the cab fiend of London, who, if he wasn't a real some sort of mass hysteria, it's just a lovely image.
So could you describe that for us, James? What's happening there? There's a guy on the top of the cab striking out at people?
He seems to be, roaring down London streets, striking out at passers-by. I don't know if
That is a bit like what Ed described happening now with the drivers in the area.
And that's what I meant by the driver. When I say that people are like screaming down these streets, I don't mean people are like going over the speed limit or running red lights. I mean a horse and trap driver is whipping me from the top of the cab.
He's lashing out.
Yeah. It's the human condition, really, isn't it? To just not to be screaming in speed terms, but just to be literally screaming as you drive around.
Yeah,
South London.
Have you guys noticed that ever since COVID, cab drivers are just whipping you more often? Ever since COVID, like there's more.
It does feel that way.
People are picking up their dog shit, and cab drivers are just screaming and driving by and whipping it.
Mentions the fact that basically children's street games really took off around this time because they brought in the Education Act, compulsory education, which meant that lots of kids were no longer being forced to work in mills, etc.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like that they had the knowledge that you need to be able to play hopscotch and stuff. Because if you can't count, what time is it, Mr. Wolf? I don't know how to tell the time.
So the kids had to stop working in the mills and they went down to the schools.
They went to schools and they had some free time.
I was wondering why bread was getting so expensive.
Well, that's broadly a good thing.
Lots of kids, yes, exactly. Lots of kids' street games started happening, and I've got a list of names for kids' street games.
Yes,
hoop and stick,
the mid to late 1800s. We've got egg cap, jump the knacker.
What?
Jump the knacker.
Egg cap.
Statues. Yeah, egg cap, jump the knacker. Statues. Several men come to work.
Several men come to work.
Golden puddings.
That's a terrible... The kids have not worked out how to name any of these games. That's a terrible name, kids.
One of my friends came around and said, "Hey, do you want to come out and play Several Men Come to Work?" I'm like, no. No, go away.
That's not really a game so much as a caption for a dull photograph.
Yeah, I want to play hoop and stick. Opening up your, like, you see like a PlayStation game size Christmas present, and you're like, "Oh, finally hoop and stick," and you open it up and it's Several Men Come to Work. You're like,
it'll be like when you play Settlers of Catan for the first time and one person's really into it and they're like, "Okay, you're all the several men," and you get 9 different work cards.
Yeah, it's like being a forever DM in D&D. Right. It's been ages since I played as one of the several men. I've only ever played as the work.
And then we got golden puddings, spider's web, here we come from Botany Bay.
Fucking hell.
Foot it, gully, and Hi Spy High.
Hi Spy High.
High Spy High. They really picked up towards the end in terms of quality. We started laying into them too soon.
Do you want to play Egg Cap? Do you want to play Several Men Come to Work or Golden Puddings? Golden Puddings sounds actually much better.
No, you've got to play your Several Men Come to Work before you get to play your Golden Puddings.
Hi Spy High sounds fun. That sounds like a cool new board game from the board game boom.
Yeah, it sounds like a prequel to I Spy, where they're at school. The spies are at school, and they're Hi Spy with my little hi. Something beginning with Several Men Coming to Work.
That is such a weird name for a game.
You'll never guess what happens if you Google Several Men Come to Work. You don't find the rules to an obscure late 18th century game. But I've got a tale of the Norwood Romanies from Anna Lee Wood. So they were famed far and wide for at least 200 years. And this comes from London Law by Steve Roud, a friend of the show. And the story is from Thomas Frost's Reminiscences of a Country Journalist in 1886. So we're banging the right ballpark here.
Those guys did not know how to name a book a snappy title. Every time you hear of a book from the 1800s, it's like you hear about like the Great Expectations had a subtitle that's like a paragraph long, and you're like, you don't need that. You don't need that. Great Expectations, that's a banger.
You'll never guess what the name of the book was that had the list of the kids' street games in it.
Go on.
What was
from
that?
London. London Street Games.
Brilliant.
Oh,
you can name anything.
That's what it says on the tin.
None of the names were taken.
I think what a lot of people don't realise, Ed, is that your Stolen Milk sketch was actually called Stolen Milk, or a treatise on dishonesty between two friends.
Yeah. Wherein one friend finds himself betrayed by t'other.
This is why we need alt text, people. That's what it's for. Get the subtitles in there.
The story was told by a Dr. Gardiner, a Croydon man, and the action takes place on the Bromley side of the border in Anley and Penge Woods.
I see.
Now, is this because there is a place near here called Gypsy Hill?
Yes, I think that's probably why.
And of course, unfortunately, that word is regarded as a slur in many parts of the world, but it is also just a place in this area, right?
This is going to be our lowest performing YouTube video since Scratching Fanny of Cock Lane.
Yes, that was a difficult time.
Yeah, I don't live too far away from all there now. I live in a different part of South London now. But so I'm very familiar with all these areas that you're naming.
So yeah, Dr. Gardiner, who lived in a white house facing Streatham Common. Streatham Common? I don't even say that.
I don't know why.
Who lived in a white house facing
like
Streatham Common.
Streatham.
One evening, he was called out with some urgency by a wiry-looking Romany guy who begged him to come see his wife, who was giving birth in their camp in Anna Lee Wood. So the doctor hesitated for a moment. He's a little bit nervous. The night's going to be dark. Anna Lee Wood was a place of evil repute. Where the briars and brambles grew, the thickest amongst the hazels, there was a hollow which bore the ominous name of Thieves' Den. But you know what? He's a doctor. He's going to do his job. He put his hat on. He goes out into the night, and they reach a part of the wood where the lane kind of intersects, and there's a bit of a crossroads, and the Romany guy's leading him on down this path, and they descended into the valley through which now the railway runs. And then the guy paused, waiting with evident impatience, and the doctor caught up with him. "Give me your handkerchief. You must not know the way to our tents." And so he ties the handkerchief round the doctor's eyes so he can't even see where he's going. There are reasons for it. It'll only be a few minutes. And he's brought through the undergrowth, holding onto the tail of the guy's jacket. And the doctor finally finds himself in a candlelit tent where the man's wife lay, giving birth and in a lot of problem. And an hour later, a baby son was born, and all were healthy. The doctor was blindfolded again, taken back to the road. And the Romany guy pulls out some money to give to the doctor, and he says, "No, this is fine. I'm doing my job here, kind of thing. I don't need money for this. Give it to your wife." And the guy's like, "All right, that's fair play. You didn't take any money for that. So I hope I may find an opportunity of paying the debt in another way. If you ever come into contact with any of our people in an unpleasant kind of way, you must say you're a friend of mine, or ask if Ned Righteous is in the camp, and you'll find the mention of that name very much to your advantage." And so far, so folktale-y. And yeah, so a year passes, and Dr. Gardner was riding home from visiting a patient at Beckenham, and then his horse's bridle is seized by two ruffians they're trying to rob him. They're trying to demand his money. But he remembered this code word that he could utter, and he said, "You'll not rob a friend of Ned Righteous," he observed. "The friends of Ned Righteous are our friends," said one of the robbers. And in an altered tone, but without loosening the hold on the bridle, says, "But how are we to know that you're a friend of his?" And the doctor's right. Well, if the guy I mentioned is anywhere near, he will answer for me. And then one of the robbers was like, "All right, I'll bring you to him." And they take him off and they lead him into the woods. They lead him down a narrow path that meanders through Penge Wood, and they make a strange cry like the hooting of an owl. And it was answered nearby. And then a man appears from the undergrowth.
That's amazing.
Just for the listeners' awareness, I'm making that noise just magically with my hands. We haven't added that. That isn't a real owl that we've brought in.
For the listeners, Alistair's being attacked by a bunch of owls now.
Get away, you owls!
I've got my owl is just off camera, and he's going crazy now. So thanks for that. He's going bananas, flying all over the room.
Yeah. Thanks, owl crying now.
Yeah, thanks, owl crying.
and it's Ned Righteous, and he recognizes the doctor.
And so, just to be clear, is Ned Righteous the guy he met before? That was the name of the man.
Ned Righteous is yes, that was the name of the man, and he recognizes the doctor. Says Dr. Gardner, and the one of the robbers is like, "Dr. Gardner," and the footpads are like, "Doctor, did he say Dr. Gardner? Well, if we'd have known it was you, sir, you'd only have told us your name. That would have been enough. You saved Righteous's child and perhaps his wife, taking no gold for it. Your name is remembered for that in all the tents of Romany." So, yeah.
Wow.
That's the tale of the doctor that, did some doctoring one time.
It's a nice, slightly kind of racist, but nice story.
It's got an edge to it, hasn't it? Yeah.
But it's quite touching. And it's also the idea that there's a special code you can say to get out of a mugging is quite pleasing. You can imagine that appealing to a certain sort of bourgeois mindset, like me, for instance, because that appealed to me.
I think we're all going to try and...
Yeah, I'm like the special member of the bourgeoisie. They won't rob me because I'm like nice and special. They all love to think of themselves like. Actually, all the like the well-to-do doctors in different suburban parts of London reading that tale will be like, "Yeah, that would probably be me." I'd probably be the one that's cool with it. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like the cool one.
So, Alistair, are you ready to score us?
Yes, that was a fine tale of Streatham.
Mm-hmm. Very, very Streatham-y.
It was.
I'd say go first of all. I think we need to get Supernatural out of the way because between ye and me, it's pretty much nothing.
But I think there's nothing supernatural about that. Well, there might.
Yeah, so go on. Put it to him, and you never know. You never know.
What's your first category? You never know. You never know. I might be generous. I might be inclined to go high.
My first category is supernatural because I think that of all the stories today, that the only one that's got anything vaguely supernatural about it is the Croydon Cat Killer, because because the Croydon Cat Killer is meant to have gone everywhere across the UK in a single night, and as you said, it's kind of a tulpa. So I believe that it can only be a 5 because it's the only element of supernaturalism involved in any of today's stories.
Appreciate you speaking so eloquently on the matter, coming before the panel at this time, but it is obviously not a 5. It's a 1 out of 5,
right?
Because it was terrible.
See, with hindsight, Ed, we should have said Supernatural.
Supernatural. Yeah.
Yes, but it's too late to introduce a pun retrospectively.
Okay, let that pun be struck from the record.
Yeah, that pun we should have found out about that during Discovery. Really, I'd say it should really be a 5 because it's not on the today. You can't. It's only within the episode, within today's episode. So that's 5 is the top, and within today's episode, that's like the not.
That is as supernatural.
Top. Yeah.
But the thing is that I've been on, unlike you, I've been on the other episodes of this podcast, and we've had like vampires and ghosts and things that really happened. So it's just not as supernatural as that.
Okay. All right.
We've had giants, we've had guys with faces in their tummies.
Like Krang.
We've had Krangs.
You've had Krang
the island
on this
of the
podcast.
Krangs. We've had Krang on the podcast. Yeah.
We've had supernatural Krangs.
He would say We'd say, take Shredder, and he would say it.
You guys are the Bebop and Rocksteady of local legends, I'd say.
A lot of people are saying that.
A lot of people are saying this, yeah.
So it's a 1 out of 5. And if anything, I could go lower than that because of the Bebop Rocksteady thing. But
we shouldn't push it any further.
1 is the lowest.
Okay, well, this one's good. Go with that. Go with naming.
What's your second category?
Naming.
Well, okay, all right. So just give me a few of those games again, James.
Egg cap, jump the knacker statues, several men come to work, golden puddings, spider's web, here we come from Botany Bay, wallflowers, foot it, gully, and high spy high.
James, if it were only several men come to work, it would be 5. That was the only one I needed to hear. Several men come to work. It's got a ring to it.
There's been so many amazing names in this episode. I can't believe you had an episode with more good names than several men come to work. Ned Righteous.
Ned Righteous
Dr.
is a great name, yeah.
Even the Croydon Cat Killer, the alliteration.
Vincent.
We've got big names. C. We've got big names we've got celebrity names in this episode.
VVG.
VVG.
Very, very goth.
Yeah, exactly. VVG's up there. We've got brilliant. We've got brilliant names in this episode. It's kind of unbelievable.
Well, yeah, you're right. Actually, massive guest star cameo from Vincent Van Gogh there. Who I didn't even know he'd been to South London.
Yeah,
so
the Easter crab. All of them have been in this episode.
And of course, close friend of Vincent Van Gogh, the Easter crab.
Friend of the show, the Easter crab.
Crabby Easter. Yeah, it's 5 out of 5.
Just try taking his eggs. You tried taking his crab's eggs.
We didn't do an Easter episode this year, so maybe this is our Easter episode. We missed Easter. I didn't know it was Easter because I don't have kids and I'm self-employed, so nobody tells me when it's a bank holiday until it's too late.
So you're still outside the post office. Okay, Ed, third cat. This was one you came up with.
Thinly veiled Victorian moralism. I was thinking this because of the story of the good doctor that didn't accept any payment and got his greater reward in the grand scheme of things,
which was not being mugged. But moreover, everyone really kind of thinking you were cool, which I think is the real reward. Rather than being mugged, it's just being cool.
That Victorian race, the thinly veiled Victorian racism could also be in there as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure they veiled it that thinly, but yeah.
I did a lot of cutting on the fly from the original version.
No, it's pretty. It's kind of a lesson, but it's also kind of cool that by doing the right thing, you get given the Konami cheat code for crime. Yeah. That's kind of fun, and everybody thinks you're really cool, and you kind of become a legend among a group of people who are much cooler than doctors and gardeners put together.
Should we say that we don't know? We cannot say. For the veracity of that cheat code, we don't know if it still works in the world.
Please don't try that.
Yeah, if you've fallen victim to a scam email, simply replying back with the words "Ned Righteous" will not get your money back. I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
I actually, if I was an email scammer and someone replied to one of my scams with "I know Ned Righteous," I'd be on the back foot. I would actually be put on the back foot a bit. Okay.
So I think it's pretty high. I don't think that it was very thinly veiled. But I don't think Van Gogh, I don't know if we learn a lesson from the Van Gogh story, unless you can now, Ed, present a Victorian moral for the tale of Van Gogh's walk in Streatham Common. What is the moral of that story that is edifying for me?
That you should paint pictures so that you can be in Doctor Who one day.
Yeah, it's what he would have wanted, really, isn't it, to be in Doctor Who?
It's kind of like the Dr. Gardner story. He refused payment for his pictures in his lifetime, but he got the greater reward of being in Doctor Who 150 years later.
And if you say the name Doctor Who to a very nerdy mugger, you're going to be in for quite a chat.
If you can pronounce it as Dr. Doctor Who, you will absolutely distract those.
Yeah. Held at gunpoint by someone wearing a T-shirt that says "Let the Wookiee win." Go. I'm a personal friend of Doctor Who.
He says his name's Doctor Who, so
I guess people must get mugged at Comic-Con. It must happen. It's a large venue. Someone must be mugged.
Would you mug a stormtrooper?
Well, yeah, they're not going to hit me, are they?
they are famously bad shots.
Or just get set upon by a bunch of Jawas.
Yeah, I would not. Yeah, I wouldn't like to try and to try and rob someone and just get like beat into a pulp with plastic lightsabers. It'd be arguably more painful than being killed with actual lightsabers, because that would at least be quick.
You've convinced me that it's a 4 out of 5, I think, for moralism. You've taught me a lesson. Dr. Gardner has taught me a lesson.
Okay, go for the final category. Hit him with the big guns.
What's the final category?
An undeniable 5. Sad artists in my area.
Yeah, I assume now that's all you get popping up on the sides of your browser.
Yeah, it is. Yes, yeah. Like my phone's listening to me talking about Van Gogh. It's telling me there's sad artists in my area.
And I think all of us, I think to say that stand-up comedians and podcasters are artists is certainly bold, but we are definitely sad artists in our area, having looked upon the AI image of Bunny Van Gogh.
Yeah,
backwards brush bunny I'm going to say it again. Backwards bunny brush. I'm not going to say it. Backwards brush bunny Van Gogh.
I've got a bit of backwards brush bunny. I have to go see Dr. Gardner.
Remember to mention my name when you do.
My brush is backwards. I have to go see Dr. Gardner.
Well, thank you very much, Ed. That was absolutely wonderful.
What would you like to plug? Where can people find your stuff?
If you go onto my Instagram and enjoy all that stuff, and I'm also on tour doing stand-up in what's likely to be your local area.
Ooh, a sad comedian in your area.
I'll be a sad artist in your local area. So if you go on my Instagram, you'll be able to find out where I'm playing and get tickets for that.
Go along and shout crabs.
Don't.
That will really. I think that will really ruin the vibe. That was a joke.
You honestly buy a ticket. You shout what you like. I'd love if I could turn my live shows into when people go and watch Rocky Horror and they do loads of stuff with the spoons. I'd love for that to be like a crab joke at my show, a recurring crab joke.
Well, they can find that on the internet, right?
Yeah, so come and find tickets to my tour on my Instagram. Thanks for having me, James and ABK.
Thanks for coming on, Ed. Oh, the night trolley, I like that.
Yeah.
It took me the whole listen back of the episode to get it, because I'm very slow.
Do the listeners think that we actually listen to the whole episode in between recording the in and the out?
I used to when I used to listen to podcasts, and then I started making them and realised no, there's not enough time. Not enough time in the day.
We can't remember a single thing that happened in the episode at this point.
No.
Just guessing. Thank you very much to Sunil Patel or whoever it was this time.
I've got another record scratch to pop in here. I've got an apology for something. Again, we
do have a real record scratch soundtrack that I know I have sent you, but carry on.
And I use it every time, right?
Do you?
Shh. Don't tell him, listeners. Last episode, we were talking about 1825 and the things that happened in that year.
Indeed.
The big thing I forgot about, which ties into the wider Lawman universe.
LCU.
It was only the Panic of 1825.
The Panic of 1825.
Which was a major economic crisis sparked off in part by your enemy and mine, Gregor McGregor.
No, Gregor McGregor, I'm incoherent with rage.
His whole scam about the made-up country and stuff.
Indeed.
That sparked off an economic crisis. It was one of the first economic crises that was kind of caused by something that was made up. Imagine such a thing. Surely that'll never happen again.
And we can only imagine what an impact it had on the Poyaian economy.
Big time. It never recovered. Unscratched then back.
Yeah, that was a lovely little factette. Thanks, James.
No probs. I'm sorry I forgot to do it last week. But thank you everyone for listening. And
thank you for listening.
Thank you, Joe, for editing. And please, if you would like to support our endeavours, join us on patreon.com/lawmenpod, where you will not only gain access to the Lawfolk Discord, which is a haven for like-minded lawfolk, but you'll also get bonus episodes, all sorts. And it'll be really nice and helpful for us.
Yeah,
If
we
you
would like it.
can't or don't wish to do that, tell a friend. Anyway, thanks very much, everyone. Join us next time. We've actually already recorded it, so I could tell you what it is. It's... Oh, God, I've genuinely actually forgotten.
That's real intrigue. You've really raised the stakes there, and you're leaving people dangling.
Oh, yeah. No, come on. It's the Roman robot of Cirencester.
Oh, okay, that is an irresistible title.
Can I just say then, to potentially add this onto the end of the edit, Kitness Stand. Let's see if we can make something work out of that.
Kitness Stand.
At the very least, it will make it clear why we started talking about something else.
The good thing about a pun like that, James, is you can really drop that anywhere into the edit. It doesn't matter. That will round the bit off nicely wherever
After
it
the
comes.
closing credit, after the closing theme tune, right at the end of the episode.
Yeah, at the end of another episode.
Kitness Stand.
We might end every episode with that from now on.
How about Agatha Kitstee's Kitness for the prosecution? I don't know.
Prosecution?
Prosecution.
Doesn't really work. Doesn't really work.
Kitness for the persecution. I don't know. Kitness for the persecution.
Hercule Poirot.
Oh, that's good.
Lovely
No, that's
stuff.
good.
Is that
Now
all
we're
right?
getting there. Now we're cooking.
Cute Poirot, because some cats are cute.
Because some cats can be very cute.